huge thank you to Elder Vince and for the wisdom that you have shared and grounding us in time and space, and responsibilities that come with gathering on this land. So as we begin today's work, I'd like to acknowledge that where we are and honor the nations that have called this land home since time immemorial. So we acknowledge that we are gathered here on the unceded, unsurrendered territory of the Anishinaabe Algonquin people. And so for thousands of years, the Anishinaabe people have cared for this land, and their presence here continues to this day. As we come together here for the Civil 7 Summit, we honor their stewardship, we recognize our responsibility to walk in solidarity, to listen deeply, and to work toward justice, not only in words, but also in action. So this acknowledgement is a call to accountability, especially as we talk about climate and economic justice, equity, sustainability, peace, and our shared future on a global level. So let's keep asking. Whose voices are we centering? Whose knowledge are we honoring? And what responsibilities do we hold to this land, to each other, and to future generations? So as we begin, and we move through these 2 days together, I invite us all to carry this land honoring with us, not only as an opening moment, but a lens through which we can approach every conversation. So indeed, this gathering here today marks a culmination of months, for some of us, months of work, dialogue, collaboration across regions, sectors, and movements. So as many of you know, and maybe some of you don't know, the Civil 7 or C7 is an official engagement group of the Group of Seven or the G7. So it exists to ensure that policies and priorities of the world's most powerful economies are informed by lived realities, expertise, and recommendations of civil society to address systemic issues and crises that shape the reality of today and deeply affect the reality of tomorrow. And there are no shortage of these, unfortunately, as the escalating climate emergency, deepening inequality, to shrinking civic space, and rising conflict, the challenges that we face are urgent and interconnected. But so are the solutions, and those solutions are already being led by communities, social movements, and civil society organizations around the globe, and by many people like you in the room today. And so that's what the C7 process is all about. It's an opportunity for us to come together across borders and sectors to identify shared priorities and present a bold, unified vision to the G7, which is what we're doing tomorrow. And so your voices and our collective voice matters. So since the handover meeting from the Italians last November, we've brought together C7 actors from around the world in working groups focused on 4 key thematic areas in which we will kind of dive into later today. So through an open and iterative consultation process, including a global virtual consultation to kind of widen our collaboration, we've deepened our collective thinking and sharpened our priorities. All of this has been shaped by steady guidance from the C7 Steering Committee, for which I'm very grateful. And today, it culminates in the communiqué that we are very, very proud to present, which is here and printed. We don't have it yet. After the opening session, we'll be able to hand those out. So here's kind of the plan for the next 2 days. Over the next 2 days, we'll dive into some of the most urgent issues of our time. But it's really to kind of push the conversation further, right? The communiqué is finalized, let's push the conversation further. So beyond the G7 and beyond policy, into the spaces where action takes root. We want those connections with other international forums, social movements, and in everyday work that each of you leads on a daily basis. So we'll also explore how to talk about these issues, how to translate complex vital demands into language that resonates with the people who make the decisions and mobilizes action. So today and tomorrow morning, so day and a half, which is part one of the summit, will be our space as civil society. So it's a place for civil society to connect, to reflect, and strengthen our collective voice. It's a chance to align across movements, initiatives, and forums, to build a shared purpose, and to shape bold messages for the world to hear. Then tomorrow afternoon, part two, is an opportunity for us to take the message forward. We'll present the C7 communiqué and the recommendations therein to the representatives of the Government of Canada and to members of the diplomatic community here in Ottawa. So it will still be in this room. We'll add a few tables, and we're probably going to get maybe 30 or 40 more participants tomorrow. So this will be an opportunity to engage directly with those who shape G7 priorities as Canada continues its presidency for the rest of 2025. So, in the spirit of care and respect for each other, for the land that we're on, and for the work ahead, I'll take a few minutes now to walk us through some more housekeeping notes, and it'll help us guide the work ahead for the next couple of days and hopefully pave the way for more meaningful engagement in the months to come. So, Cooperation Canada and the C7 Secretariat is dedicated to creating a welcoming and inclusive space. So we prioritize anti-racism, equity, diversity, inclusion, and justice. So our community guidelines, which you saw during registration outside, are part of our commitment to maintaining a respectful environment. Please be mindful that any form of hate, harassment, and discrimination will not be tolerated, and individuals engaged in such behavior will be asked to leave. If you'd like to review the guidelines or need to report any concerns, we have an anonymous reporting system available through the link in your participant package. We also have a form and comment box available on site. In case of an emergency, please refer to the venue maps in your participant guide for the nearest exit. If you need urgent assistance, look for any Cooperation Canada or OAG staff member. And we have a first aid kit on site and staff who is on site who is certified in first aid and will be ready to assist while emergency services are contacted. You can also reach out to OAG staff for any help. Donc, les repas, collations et rafraîchissements sont disponibles à l'arrière de la salle et des stations d'eau sont réparties dans tout l'immeuble. Des toilettes accessibles, y compris des options non genrées, se trouvent juste à l'extérieur de la salle. We understand that you may need a moment for peace and quiet during the summit. A prayer and meditation space is available at the back of the room with designated times for prayer, which are posted outside. For more personal reflection or rest, the quiet room on the 5th floor, so just elevator up to the 5th floor, provides a peaceful environment, and that's located in the OAG boardroom. Pour celles et ceux qui trouvent qu'une distraction créative favorise leur concentration, nous avons mis à disposition des pages à colorier présentant de l'art autochtone provenant de l'ensemble de l'île de la Tortue disponibles sur les tables dans la salle ici présente. Donc, n'hésitez pas à les utiliser tout au long de l'événement. For more details about the venue, resources, or anything else, please scan the QR code on your badge or visit the event website. The C7 Summit Participant Guide and Frequently Asked Questions document are also available online for your reference. Si à tout moment vous avez besoin d'aide ou vous avez des questions, notre table d'inscription est dotée de personnel prêt à vous assister. Nous avons également des ressources de soutien psychosocial indiquées dans la section FAQ pour votre bien-être. We know that we have shared a lot of information, but if at any time you need support or help, please find us at the registration table. But for now, we begin with each other, with the power and wisdom that is here in this room. So just a quick reminder before I will leave the floor to my colleague Paul. The C7 should not remain just a moment, but be a continuous movement, right? And this summit is not just about influencing the G7, although that's a big part. It's about strengthening the ties that connect us as civil society actors working for change in every corner of the world. So thank you very much again for being here, and let's get to work. Over to you, Paul.
I'm a bit shorter than Darren. Well, for those of you I haven't met yet, my name is Paul Farron. I am the Director of Policy and Advocacy with Cooperation Canada. So good morning, everybody. Welcome to this space. Huge thanks to Elder Vince for sharing his wisdom with us. And thanks, Darren, for the opening remarks you've made. So it's really a pleasure to be here after months of planning and working together. And as chair of this year's C7, I've had the opportunity to work alongside many of you in this room, virtually and in person, from Canadian global civil society as well as from global civil society. So I want to start by thanking you for all being here and taking the time to enrich this gathering. I also want to highlight my colleagues at Cooperation Canada who have done an amazing job at not just setting up this moment, but also everything that's led to it. And also thank our steering committee members who have been very active in guiding us through these proceedings these past months, our international coordinators who have led with wisdom in the work of our working groups, as well as all of you who have participated in the working groups and in other manners. Nous connaissons tous la toile de fond de notre paysage mondial. Nous voyons la montée de régimes autoritaires, la dégradation du climat, des conflits, fermeture de l'espace civique et encore plus d'inégalités. Partout dans le monde, les communautés se voient de plus en plus marginalisées alors que le pouvoir est de plus en plus concentré. Face à ces crises, il est encourageant de voir que la société civile ne recule pas et qu'en fait, nous continuons à avancer. Et au cours des derniers mois, nous nous sommes tous réunis avec ce même sentiment d'urgence. Le résultat, notre communiqué du C7, est un appel à l'action ancré dans la justice mondiale et fondé sur la dignité humaine. So with these solutions in hand, we are here to shape G7 decisions. We are here to remind decision makers that economic indicators mean nothing without human rights, that net zero pledges are meaningless if they don't mean justice for those bearing the brunt of climate change, and that democracy is more than elections. It means accountability, transparency, and access. And so this moment offers a chance for Canada to model meaningful civil society engagement. And this means bringing our recommendations to the G7 agenda. And it means building a G7 that works for people and not just for powerful interests. As Cooperation Canada, and indeed as a C7, we are doing our utmost to ensure that the C7 occupies the space it should rightly occupy. And that, of course, is work in progress. And as Darren mentioned earlier, we will be hosting the G7 Sherpa tomorrow, as well as members of the diplomatic community, to strengthen some of these linkages. I think most of us know that it is the 50th anniversary of the G7 this year. And seeing where we are at, this is not just a symbolic moment. It is defining due to the breakdown in international norms that is happening right before us. There are deep divisions within the G7, adding significant strain on Western-led alliances. multilateralism is in crisis, and even sovereignty itself is challenged. So, in an increasingly multipolar world, if the G7 fails to present a united front on economic and security issues, it would signal a decline in its global influence, and in fact, the role and relevance of the group itself is at stake. So I think we can all agree that this G7 is not business as usual. We have new leadership in all but 2 G7 countries, and Canada is now in an electoral period with a new government set for 2 weeks from now. The US president's past engagement in G7s, coupled with a chaotic approach to global economic policy and international security, adds to the unpredictable nature of how this G7 could evolve. And compounding these complexities is a major US rollback on climate action. In addition, we're seeing drastic cuts to international cooperation and foreign aid across the G7 and much beyond. This dramatic and sudden shift in international cooperation calls for renewed thinking and new models for international cooperation. And it is our hope that this summit will provide us with opportunities to discuss bold and creative solutions that we can take forward. So let's take this summit as a springboard. We look forward to engaging on some of these challenges with all of you and pushing these messages forward, not just to the G7, but also in other key international arenas. So from the Financing for Development Conference in a few months to the G20 to COP30, we have a role to play, pushing for a world where justice, equity, and dignity shape our future. In these challenging times, we must also make sure that our voices are heard across the political spectrum. And in setting our strategies and tactics, let us consider how we enrich the global debate. Let us challenge the false narrative that foreign aid is wasteful and demonstrate how international cooperation is a strategic investment in global stability. So on this, to all of you, thank you for participating in the C7 so actively thus far. And I would also like to extend a special thanks to many of you who have traveled from across continents to join us for this gathering. It is humbling, and thanks so much. So thank you for your attention. Merci de votre attention. On that note, I'm honored to close this opening moment of our C7 Summit and introduce our first session, focused on reclaiming civic space. We have an excellent session and panel, and please allow me to introduce my colleague, Maywand Rayab, who will guide us as moderator and introduce the panel. Maywand is founder and CEO of Resilient Societies, an emerging Canada-based global organization dedicated to empowering civil society activists, and human rights defenders. Welcome, Maywand.
Maybe I can start here, and then I'll call my colleagues to join. Good morning. Thank you so much.